The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning at the Earth Defense Force headquarters. Captain Tom Reed stared at the holographic display, reading the invitation twice to make sure he understood it correctly. The Galactic Sports Federation, an organization he hadn't even known existed until now, wanted Earth to participate in their championship games. "They're calling us what?" General Morris asked, leaning forward in his chair. The morning sunlight streaming through the window made his silver hair shine. "A Deathworld species, sir," Tom replied, standing straight and tall. "According to their classification, Earth is considered extremely dangerous due to our gravity, weather patterns, and biological diversity." The general laughed, a deep sound that filled his office. "Well, they're not wrong. Did you see the part about their standard gravity levels?" Tom nodded. Most alien civilizations had evolved on worlds with gravity ranging from 0.3 to 0.5 of Earth's. Their bodies were built for efficiency rather than strength, their worlds carefully controlled to eliminate natural disasters and dangerous wildlife. "They think we're going to embarrass ourselves," Tom said, his eyes bright with excitement. "The invitation includes notes about how they'll understand if we decline, given our primitive development stage, and harsh environmental challenges." The general stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the training fields where soldiers were running their morning drills. "You have an idea, don't you, Reed?" "Yes, sir. I think we should accept their invitation. But not just accept it. We should show them exactly what a Deathworld species can do." Over the next few days, the news spread across Earth. The media couldn't get enough of it. Clips of known alien species played on every channel, showing their tall, graceful forms and advanced technology. Commentary focused on their apparent physical advantages. Some could fly in low gravity, others had natural abilities humans could only dream of. But Tom saw something different when he watched those clips. He saw beings that had never needed to push their limits, species that had evolved in controlled environments, whose bodies had never faced the daily challenges that had shaped humanity. In the EDF conference room, Tom presented his plan to the World Council. "We don't need to win every event," he explained, pointing to the list of competitions. "We just need to show them what humans are really capable of. The fact that they consider Earth a death world isn't a disadvantage. It's our greatest strength." The council members whispered among themselves, some worried about potential diplomatic issues if Earth performed poorly. Others feared showing too much of humanity's capabilities might make other species see them as a threat. "Look at their requirements for safety," Tom continued. "Their medical standards, their rest periods, their temperature controls. They've never seen anything like us. They don't understand what it means to evolve on a world that constantly tries to kill you." Dr. Lisa Park, the head of xenobiology, raised her hand. "Captain Reed is right," she said, her voice firm. "I've been studying the biological data they sent. These species consider a 20% increase in heart rate to be strenuous exercise. They've never experienced anything close to what we consider normal training." The council's decision came 3 days later. Earth would accept the invitation. They would send their athletes to compete, but more importantly, to demonstrate why humans had not just survived, but thrived on their death world. Tom stood in the briefing room, looking at the first batch of potential candidates. Athletes from every continent had volunteered, each bringing unique skills shaped by Earth's diverse environments. From mountain climbers who thrived in low oxygen to desert runners who could handle extreme temperatures, they represented the peak of human adaptability. "They expect us to be strong but stupid," he told them. "Tough but uncoordinated. They think growing up on a death world means we're nothing but savages who somehow learned to use technology." He smiled, seeing the determination in their eyes. "Let's show them what savages can do when we take the field." The training began the next day. As the alien observers watched through their remote monitors, they saw humans doing things their safety protocols classified as extremely dangerous or potentially lethal. They didn't understand that for humans, pushing limits wasn't just a choice. It was how they had survived and evolved. The challenge had been made. Now it was time to show the galaxy what Deathworlders could really do. The testing arena was silent except for the steady thump of feet on treadmills. Hundreds of sensors tracked every movement as Earth's best athletes pushed themselves to their limits. In the observation room above, alien scientists watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. "They've been running for 2 hours," one alien observer whispered, his thin fingers tapping nervously on his tablet. "Their core temperatures should be dangerous by now." Maria Torres, a mountain guide from Mexico, hadn't even started breathing hard yet. Years of leading climbers through high-altitude trails had given her extraordinary endurance. The sensors showed her heart rate holding steady, her movements efficient and controlled. "That's impossible," another alien muttered as Maria increased her speed. "Their medical files must be wrong." Tom Reed smiled from his corner of the observation room. "This was just the beginning. Would you like to see the strength trials next?" he asked innocently. The strength trials took place in a reinforced chamber designed to handle Earth's gravity. Alex Walker, who had spent his life in the Australian outback, stepped up to the weights. The alien observers had insisted on having medical teams standing by, certain that lifting such masses would tear human muscles apart. Alex lifted twice what their safety protocols allowed. Then he did it again. And again. But the calculations, one alien stammered, his face changing colors rapidly. "No species can generate that much force without mechanical assistance. We call it training," Tom explained. "And this is just our basic program." The final trials focused on speed and agility. David Brown, whose running had made him a legend in Kenya, took his position. The aliens had set up their standard reaction time course, expecting the bulky Deathworlders to lumber through it. David completed it in half their expected time. Then he asked if they could make it harder. Harder. The alien coordinator's translator seemed to glitch on the word. "This course is designed for peak performance testing." "Yeah," David said with a grin, "but it's kind of slow." By the end of the first week, the alien observers had rewritten their safety protocols 3 times. They couldn't understand how humans could push themselves so hard without breaking. Every night, they sent urgent messages back to their superiors, trying to explain what they were seeing. In the EDF cafeteria, Tom sat with his chosen athletes. Maria was eating a massive plate of pasta, refueling after her latest endurance trial. Alex was reviewing footage of alien sports events, already planning strategies. David was sleeping sitting up, his body's learned ability to rest whenever possible showing itself. "They think we're showing off," Tom told them. "They don't understand that this is just how we live." Maria nodded, swallowing her food. "In the mountains, if you get tired, you die. Simple as that. My ancestors lived at altitudes that would make these aliens pass out. Being strong isn't special, it's survival." "Same in the outback," Alex added, looking up from his tablet. "Every day is a strength trial when you're fighting the environment. These aliens, they've never had to dig a car out of the sand in 45-degree heat." David opened one eye. "My grandmother used to run 10 kilometers to school. Then 10 kilometers back. She didn't call it training. It was just life." The final selection day arrived. The alien observers had prepared a detailed report explaining why humans should be restricted to safe levels of competition. They presented charts showing the supposed risks, statistics proving that no species could maintain such output levels. Tom thanked them for their concern. Then he showed them the video of children playing in a standard Earth playground. "This is how our young train," he said, watching their eyes widen at footage of kids climbing, jumping, running, and falling. "Not because we make them, but because they want to. Because that's what humans do. We push limits. We get stronger. We adapt." The aliens left that day with their carefully prepared safety reports in shambles. As their ship took off, Maria, Alex, and David stood with Tom, watching it disappear into the sky. "Ready to show them what humans can really do?" Tom asked. 3 confident smiles answered him. The real games were about to begin. The Star Arena space station hung in space like a giant silver wheel, spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. As the human transport ship approached, Maria pressed her face against the viewport, taking in the massive structure. "It's smaller than I expected," Alex said, standing behind her. "Probably because they don't need as much support structure in low gravity." The docking procedure went smoothly, though the station's traffic control seemed nervous about letting a Deathworlder ship approach. As the airlock cycled, Tom gathered his team for a final briefing. "Remember," he said, "the station's gravity is set to 0.7 Earth normal. That's higher than most species prefer, but it's still less than what we're used to. Be careful until you adjust." The warning proved unnecessary. As the team stepped onto the station, their bodies, conditioned by Earth's heavy gravity, made the transition easily. The same couldn't be said for the welcome committee, who backed away nervously as the humans approached. "Welcome to Star Arena," said the head greeter, a tall, willowy being whose name translated as Blue Sky. "We've prepared special reinforced quarters for your unique requirements." David tried not to smile at the overcautious treatment. The reinforced quarters turned out to be a standard suite with slightly stronger furniture. For beings used to Earth's construction standards, it seemed oddly flimsy. The first surprise came during the medical examinations. The station's doctors insisted on running multiple scans, convinced their equipment was malfunctioning. "Your bone density," one doctor said, triple-checking the readings. "It's nearly twice our highest recorded measurements. And your muscle mass. How do you even move with such heavy tissues?" "Quite easily, actually," Maria replied, demonstrating with a quick series of stretches that made the medical staff flinch. News of the humans' arrival spread quickly through the station. The halls would fall quiet when they passed, other athletes and officials watching with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The Swifts, a species evolved for speed and low gravity, seemed particularly interested. "They look so solid," one Swift whispered to another, not realizing human hearing was better than they expected. "How do they move without breaking things?" The Builders, a species proud of their perfectly engineered worlds, took a different approach. They sent a delegation to study the humans openly, taking notes on every movement and interaction. "Your species evolved naturally?" the Builder scientist asked, watching Alex casually lift a food tray that would have required mechanical assistance for most species, without any genetic engineering. "Completely natural," Tom confirmed. "Earth doesn't allow for anything else. You either adapt or you don't survive." The station's common areas became testing grounds for unexpected cultural exchanges. In the training facility, other species watched in fascination as the humans went through their warm-up routines. "What are they doing?" asked a young Swift, watching Maria do push-ups. "They call it exercise," explained a Builder observer. "They deliberately stress their bodies to make them stronger." Most species would consider it a form of torture. The humans quickly learned they needed to be careful with the station's equipment. What passed for heavy weights among other species felt like toys to them. The running tracks, designed for lighter beings, needed reinforcement after David's first practice session. But it wasn't all tension and surprise. During mealtimes, the humans shared their table with braver athletes from other species. They learned about sports played in zero gravity, about races through light fields, about endurance contests that tested mental stamina rather than physical strength. "Tomorrow, the opening ceremony begins," Tom told his team as they gathered in their quarters that evening. "That's when the real show starts." Maria looked out their window at the stars. "They still think we're just strong brutes who got lucky with technology. Then let's show them what Earth's gravity really gave us," David said, his eyes bright with anticipation. Alex nodded, already planning his strategy. They'd never seen anything like us before. As the station's day cycle dimmed to night, the human team rested, ready for what was to come. In their reinforced beds that didn't feel nearly sturdy enough, they dreamed of Earth's heavy embrace, of the force that had shaped them into something the galaxy had never expected to see. The games were about to begin, and the Deathworlders were ready to take the field. The opening ceremony looked more like a scientific conference than a sporting event. Each species demonstrated their evolutionary advantages through carefully controlled exhibitions. The Swifts danced through low-gravity fields, their movements graceful and precise. The Builders showed off their perfect coordination in team events. Then came Earth's turn. A simple warm-up routine, Tom had said during planning. Let's show them how humans prepare. Maria started with basic stretches, her muscles flexing visibly under the station's lights. The alien audience murmured uncomfortably. To them, such clear muscle definition meant dangerous genetic modification. Then she began her routine. Push-ups, pull-ups, squats, simple exercises that every human knew. But to the watching aliens, it looked like deliberate self-torture. Medical teams moved closer to the performance area, their instruments ready for what they assumed would be inevitable injury. Should we stop them? One official asked nervously. Their internal temperature is rising. That's normal for us, Tom explained calmly. This is just a warm-up. David took the stage next, demonstrating sprint starts. His explosive power from a standing position made several Swifts faint. Their species prided itself on acceleration, but they'd never seen anything like the raw force a human could generate. Impossible. The Swift team captain protested. No natural species can change direction that quickly. The first real competition was an endurance test. Athletes had to maintain constant motion while environmental conditions changed. The Builders finished first in their group, lasting 2 hours before retiring. The Swifts managed 3 hours by working in teams. Maria ran for 6 hours straight. She must stop. The medical officer insisted, waving scanners at her vital signs. The sustained effort will damage her system. Actually, Maria said, barely breathing hard, I'm getting my second wind. Back home, I usually run 12 hours in the mountains. The alien observers couldn't process what they were seeing. Their medical knowledge said it was impossible. Their physics calculations said it couldn't be done. Yet there she was, a human from a heavy gravity world, simply refusing to tire. The speed trials brought more surprises. The Swifts took their positions confidently. This was their specialty. Their light bodies were built for velocity, their reflexes honed by generations of selective breeding. David stepped up to the starting line. The Swifts looked at his heavy, muscled frame and tried to hide their amusement. Don't worry, one Swift said kindly. We'll wait for you at the finish line. The race started. David's first step cracked the track slightly. His second step put him even with the leading Swift. By the third step, he was ahead. But, the power requirements. The Builder scientist stammered, checking his calculations again. The energy needed to move that much mass that quickly. We call it fast-twitch muscle fiber, Tom said. Pretty standard for humans. Alex's event was next, a test of load-bearing capacity. The Builders had brought their finest power assist suits, certain that technology would triumph over natural ability. Alex walked out wearing only the standard competition uniform. Where is your assistance device? The judge asked, concerned. Don't need one, Alex replied. Then he lifted the weight that the Builders' suits were struggling with, using only his natural strength. The station's medical bay filled with aliens suffering from shock. Their worldview was being systematically destroyed by these Deathworlders, who seemed to ignore the basic laws of biology and physics. In their quarters that evening, the human team reviewed their performance. We barely showed them anything yet, David said, stretching his legs. Maria nodded, looking through the next day's schedule. Tomorrow they'll see what happens when we actually try. Just remember, Tom cautioned, we're not here to humiliate anyone. We're here to show them what's possible. But as he looked at his team, he knew the galaxy would never be the same after these games. The age of underestimating Deathworlders was coming to an end. The Survival Challenge Arena took up an entire section of the station. Different environments could be simulated within its massive chambers, testing athletes' ability to adapt and survive. Most species viewed it as a technical challenge, relying on their equipment and training. They weren't ready for Alex Walker. Competitors may use any provided survival gear, the announcer explained. Racks of high-tech equipment lined the walls. Alex walked past them all, taking only a simple knife. "You must select your protection gear," a concerned official insisted. "The environments will be hostile." Alex smiled. "I grew up in the Australian outback. This is just another Tuesday." The first environment was a desert simulation. Temperature rose quickly, and wind machines stirred up artificial sandstorms. The builders huddled in their climate-controlled suits. The swifts tried to outrun the worst of the weather. Other species took shelter, waiting for conditions to improve. Alex walked straight into the storm. His body temperature is rising. The medical monitor warned. "The sand particles are nothing compared to a real outback storm," Tom finished. "Just watch." They watched as Alex found natural shelter, made tools from the available materials, and even set up a basic water collection system. When the simulation changed to a frozen landscape, he adapted immediately. "How does he know what to do?" a builder scientist asked, frantically taking notes. "On Earth, you either learn or you don't survive," Tom explained. "Our world has all these environments naturally. We've been dealing with them for thousands of years." The final test was a jungle environment. Hot, humid, full of obstacles. This time, Maria joined Alex. The other competitors struggled with the terrain, their equipment malfunctioning in the moisture. Maria and Alex moved like they were born there. They found safe paths, identified useful plants, and even set up a comfortable camp. When artificial rain began pouring down, they used it to their advantage. "This isn't just survival," one of the judges said quietly. "They're thriving in conditions that should be lethal." Meanwhile, David was showing off human adaptability in a different way. The Swifts had challenged him to learn one of their low-gravity dance races, certain that his heavy Earth-evolved body would fail at their elegant sport. Instead, he learned it in 3 hours. "Your muscle control is impossible," the Swift trainer said, watching David perform moves that should have taken months to master. "How can you adjust so quickly?" "Humans are good at learning new movements," David explained between runs. "We have to be. On Earth, if you can't adapt quickly, you die." The station's scientists were working overtime, trying to understand what they were seeing. Their models of human capability kept breaking. Every time they thought they understood the limits of these Deathworlders, those limits were shattered. In the viewing gallery, alien spectators watched in fascination as the humans continued to surprise them. They saw Maria run through obstacles that others needed tools to handle. They watched Alex turn hostile environments into comfortable spaces. They witnessed David master movements that should have been impossible for his species. "We were wrong about them," a builder elder admitted to Tom. "We thought growing up on a death world made you strong but simple. We didn't understand." "What didn't you understand?" Tom asked. "That the very things we thought made your world terrible. The gravity, the weather, the changing environments, they didn't just make you strong. They made you adaptable. And that's far more valuable." As the day's events ended, the human team gathered in their quarters. They were tired but satisfied. Through the window, Earth was visible as a small blue dot in the distance. "They're starting to get it," Tom said, looking at his team. "They're beginning to understand what Earth gave us." "Not just strength," Maria added. "Not just endurance," said David. "But the ability to face anything," Alex finished, "and find a way to overcome it." The next day would bring new challenges, but now, the other species weren't just watching in fear or curiosity. They were watching to learn. The mood on the Star Arena had changed. Where once there was fear of the Deathworlders, Now there was curiosity. Between events, aliens gathered around the human team, asking questions about Earth and their training methods. "You do this exercise thing every day?" a young Swift asked, watching Maria complete her morning routine, even when there's no competition. "Especially when there's no competition," Maria explained, finishing her set of pull-ups. "On Earth, staying strong isn't a choice, it's how we live." The builders had set up recording devices to study human movement patterns. They were particularly interested in how humans could switch between different types of activities so quickly. Their own species needed hours to recalibrate their bodies for different tasks. Alex found himself surrounded by alien athletes during mealtimes. They watched in amazement as he ate what seemed to them an impossible amount of food. "Your energy consumption is remarkable," a builder scientist noted. "You eat more in one meal than most species eat in a day." "High-gravity world, high energy needs," Alex explained between bites. "This is actually a light lunch by Earth standards." The biggest surprise came when David invited some Swift youngsters to try human-style training. The medical team nearly had a panic attack, but Tom assured them it would be safe. "Start slow," David told his nervous alien students. "Listen to your body. That's the first lesson humans learn." The Swift children were naturally fast, but they'd never experienced structured strength training before. Under David's careful guidance, they discovered they could push themselves harder than their species thought possible. "Amazing," their coach muttered, watching his athletes try simple bodyweight exercises. "Their muscle density is already increasing. How did we never think of this?" In the scientific section of the station, the builders had started a new research project. They were studying how Earth's various challenges had shaped human development. Tom spent hours answering their questions about everything from Earth's weather patterns to its diverse ecosystems. "Your planet forces you to be ready for anything," one builder researcher concluded. "No wonder you adapt so quickly. You never know what Earth will throw at you next." Maria found herself teaching survival skills to a mixed group of alien athletes. She showed them how to read environmental signs, how to conserve energy, how to think ahead in challenging situations. "On Earth," she explained, drawing in the air with her hands, "the weather can change in minutes. The ground can shake, water can fall from the sky. You learn to be ready, or nature teaches you a hard lesson." The station's medical bay had become a center for studying human biology. Alien doctors were amazed by the human body's ability to repair itself, to build stronger muscles after stress, to adapt to new conditions. "Your entire species is built on the principle of getting stronger through stress," a medical officer said, reviewing scan data. "It goes against everything we thought we knew about biological systems." Even the station's engineers were learning from the humans. They watched how Alex instinctively braced himself in different gravity conditions, how he naturally found the strongest points in any structure. "It's not just about being strong," Alex explained to a group of fascinated engineers. "It's about understanding how things work, how they might break, and how to prevent that. When you grow up on a heavy world, you learn these things without thinking." During the evening rest period, Tom gathered his team to share some news. "The Galactic Sports Federation has requested permission to send observers to Earth," he said. "They want to understand how we train, how we live." "Are they ready for that?" David asked. "Earth might be a bit much for them." "That's why they're asking for our help," Tom replied. "They've realized that strength without understanding is useless. They want to learn, not just about our physical capabilities, but about how Earth shaped us." Maria smiled. "So we're not just competitors anymore. We're teachers." "Better than that," Alex added. "We're proof that challenges don't make you weaker. They make you grow." As the station's night cycle began, dozens of alien athletes were still practicing human exercises, learning Earth survival techniques, and beginning to understand what it meant to be a Deathworlder. The games had become more than a competition. They had become a bridge between different ways of life. The closing ceremony of the Galactic Sports Federation Championship looked nothing like its opening. Gone were the careful demonstrations and controlled exhibitions. Instead, athletes from all species mingled together, sharing techniques and stories. Tom stood at the observation window, watching Earth grow larger as the transport ship headed home. The past weeks had changed everything. Not just for humans, but for every species in the galaxy. The final rankings are in, Maria said, joining him at the window. She handed him a data pad with a slight smile. The humans hadn't won every event. That was never the goal. The Swifts still dominated the pure speed competitions. The Builders remained unbeatable in precision tasks. But in overall performance, adaptability, and combined scores, Earth's team had set new records that would stand for generations. More importantly, Tom said, reading through the report, "Look at what they're calling us now." The official classification had been changed. Humans were no longer listed as Deathworld primitives. Instead, they had been reclassified as a Guardian-class species, beings whose harsh evolutionary path had created something unique and valuable. "Did you see the last part?" David asked, walking up with Alex, "about the training programs." 20 different species had formally requested permission to send athletes to Earth for training. They wanted to learn not just the physical techniques, but the mental strength that came from living on a challenging world. "They'll need special facilities," Alex said. "Most of them can't handle Earth gravity yet." "The Builders are already working on it," Tom replied. "They're designing training centers that can simulate Earth conditions gradually. They want to understand how our world shaped us." The ship's communication system chimed. Another message from the Federation, the 15th that day. Everyone wanted to know more about Earth's methods, about human adaptability, about how a species could be both physically powerful and intellectually advanced. "Remember how they treated us at first?" Maria laughed. "Like we were going to break their station just by walking too hard." "Well, we did break a few things," David admitted. "That running track never stood a chance." The viewing screen showed recordings from the games. There was Maria, running for hours while other species watched in amazement. Alex, turning hostile environments into comfortable spaces with nothing but basic tools. David, mastering alien sports through sheer adaptability. "The best part," Tom said, "was watching them learn. Not just about us, but about themselves. Every species has potential they haven't reached yet." A group of Swift children had already started a new training program based on human methods. The Builders were redesigning their worlds to include more environmental variation, understanding now that challenge bred strength. Even the station's medical staff had revolutionized their understanding of biology, learning that stress could build rather than break. Earth Defense Force Command sent a message, Tom announced. "They want us to help set up the first interspecies training academy, a place where different species can learn from each other's strengths. As long as they don't expect everyone to match human standards right away," Maria said. "We've had millions of years of Earth's gravity working on us." "That's exactly what they want to understand," Tom replied. "How to build that kind of strength safely, over time. How to develop not just powerful bodies, but adaptable minds." The ship's captain announced they were beginning Earth entry procedures. The team buckled in, ready to feel their homeworld's familiar gravity embrace them again. "So what's next?" David asked. "After we set up the academy." "Next," Tom smiled. "Next, we show the galaxy that being the Deathworlder isn't about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about never stopping, never giving up, and always being ready to adapt." As Earth's atmosphere began to glow around their ship, the team felt the familiar pull of their world calling them home. They had gone to the stars to compete, but they had achieved something far greater. They had shown the galaxy that the challenges that make you stronger are not obstacles to be feared, but opportunities to grow. The Deathworlders had taken the field, and the universe would never be the same.